Hello, today is Friday, June 5th. It is going to turn into a very busy day, so I'm filming this very early. This is the fourth and final video in my little mini series discussing my top 3 scare tactics, characteristics, horror elements within a horror film, what I think causes those scares in the horror films. I've already spoken to the ideas of building tension, of physical horror or the jump scare, and today I will talk about the unknown or what is lurking in the dark. So, one of the Horror Weekly podcast episodes I listened to in the past week centered around Heather Langenkamp in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which is the meta story in the Nightmare on Elm Street series. She plays herself, her child is in peril, and at the time, I guess she was dealing with a personal stalker in her real life, and Wes Craven kind of wrote that story around the fact that she was a real person dealing with real trauma. And during that episode, the podcaster spoke to the idea of child versus adult horror. While child horror is something you can take at face value, like monsters, vampires, Bigfoot, anything you think is scary. And adult horror involves a little bit more life experience, things that might be a little bit more metaphorical or just personal to something you've lived through. Um, an example in recent memory, again, coming back to the film Obsession, while the wish dynamic might be something every child understands, the adult flip side to that, despite the fact that there's the whole idea of the monkey's paw where any wish you make won't be what you want it to be, it's also the very real idea that anyone in the whole world can make a choice that could completely change or possibly derail your life. Because while Nikki is the one behaving monstrously in that film, she's not the villain. She's the victim. She's only behaving that way because somebody wished that she would not behave in that way, but behave in a way that required her to become the monster that she does in that film. Even so, I found that idea very intriguing because honestly, the stuff that scares me the most is very similar to the stuff that scared me as a kid. Monsters, the unknown, things that lurk in the dark. Because you know what? You don't know. That's one of my life mottos, is one of my horror mottos for sure, kind of a modern Socrates. You don't know. Maybe there is something in the closet. Maybe there is something under the bed. You just need to bring the right life to it, I guess, maybe. Things that scared me as a kid, for example, Stephen King's It with Tim Curry. I spent years staring at the shower drain. Years. And I rewatched it recently, and hundreds of horror movies later. It is a little bit cheesy, but that definitely scared me as a kid. Other things that were scary: Poltergeist and the clown in the closet, Cat's Eye and the goblin that came out of the wall and stole Drew Barrymore's breath. Aliens, top horror when I was a kid, now always facehuggers. Because you know what? There might be aliens. In recent memory, some other examples I can think of are, Hell House LLC. So in recent memory, that movie scared the crap out of me. I mean, I watched it in my living room with my husband under a blanket, and then for days after that, I couldn't really walk around my house without feeling creeped out. And then similarly, The Babadook, maybe a controversial choice, but I definitely found it scary, and I'm pretty sure that when it came out, a lot of people did. And maybe it was made on a shoestring budget. The monster was really just a good makeup job, creative film techniques, and also includes some very adult horror themes too. Just a single parent dealing with, a child that has special needs and loving your child, but still kind of resenting the fact that everything is so hard. But then again, the possession by the monster in the very childlike tactic that is still incredibly horrifying, losing complete control. And I've spoken to that, and maybe that's personally something that really scares me too. But anyway, I really enjoyed talking about my favorite scare tactics, characteristics, and I definitely hold the idea of childlike horror and monsters under the bed very close to my heart. I am still afraid of the dark. So, or at least what might lurk there, right? Anyway, I hope you have a great day, a great weekend, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.